Welcome to the Tansson Talks show. I'm Brandon, the host and producer of the show, and I always love being here every week on this show. Today, I'm very excited in this winter 2024 season to welcome my guest here today, friend of the podcast and my friend, Joshua Ruff. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course, and thank you so much. I know this has become an annual tradition of ours.
Oh yeah. This is our fifth time, I think. Fifth time now.
Yeah, fifth time. Yeah, every winter time season, since 2020. Can you believe it's been that long?
Time is flying. Time is flying, especially this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Our very first conversation was in November of 2020, and so it's crazy to think how much time has passed. You were my fourth ever podcast guest, and now 2 shows later, this is number 98 of my current show.
Hey, almost to 100.
Yeah, almost there. And Joshua, if you can do us the honors to go ahead and introducing yourself once again for the watching and listening audience.
All right. My name is Joshua Ruff, and I am a recent graduate from Old Dominion University. I graduated with a bachelor's in information technology, and that's pretty much it.
Well, that's amazing to hear. I'm so glad. Like I said, well, one, congratulations on your recent graduation.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, that was also May of 2024.
Yes.
Yeah. How does it feel now to be a graduate? When we first started speaking, we were both in our first full semester of college, and now we're both graduated. Like, how does that feel?
I am honestly so happy to be done with school. I'm so happy to be finally done. There's still more work to do. I still need to get certifications, which I found out not too long after graduating, which I have been slacking on that lately. I need to get back onto that. But I do have a job that I'm somewhat using my skills. It's not anywhere near what I want, but it's a starter, at least. It's something. But it is through the city, so that is good.
Well, that's good to hear. At least, one, that you are able to have a job, because I know employment, especially right after graduation, takes a while.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for us. And I know that you're going to speak about that probably into great detail, momentarily. But I'm glad at least that you're able to have a job to use as a stepping stone for hopefully future opportunities. But yeah, and so I wanted to actually use this opportunity, as well, to go ahead and have you introduce the topic, because I know that you specifically had a topic in mind for what we wanted to speak about. So I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce that.
Pretty much just the college experience. If whoever's watching, if you are considering college, this would be good. This would be a good watch for you considering it, or just wanting to hear different perspectives from people. I think this will be a good one for you.
Yeah, I'm very excited to hear about your college experience, and I'm also equally excited to hear about how it was for you, job hunting in today's world and adjusting after college.
Okay. Well, job hunting was not even to sugarcoat it, terrible. Absolutely terrible. I've done, honestly, around nearly 50 applications. The most I've gotten for a while was a text interview, and it wasn't even an actual interview. It was to get set up for possibly a interview. It was just asking basic questions to get me set up for one. But as far as the process, it's going to be a while, especially if you don't have a internship. For me, it took about 3 months to even get a actual interview. And now I have a job, thankfully. But as far as the process, it definitely is going to take some time.
Well, overall, from where you are now, and of course, I know we're going to speak a little bit about the present, then of course go back to your, college experience, a little bit and make this full circle. But how would you say for you were during, this process?
At the start, after graduating, I'm thinking I'll probably land something within couple weeks, just enjoy the time that I have after graduating, relax, try to collect myself before I move on to something new. And I don't get anything at all. No emails or anything from these companies I'm applying to for a while. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'll get something eventually. And then a month goes by, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of interesting. And I'm also getting to the point where I'm severely disliking the place that I was currently working at. And then about a month and a half goes by, and it really feels like it's starting to feel like why it feels like I've kind of started like wasted my time possibly. Um, what do I have to do to possibly even get an interview, a single interview, or at least anything back? And moving on to 2 months, to almost 3 months, it really was just getting exhausting. Also exhausting just because of the fact that I was working about what five. I was working pretty much what full time hours are. It's like 5 days a week, and about like 40 hours, somewhere around 40 hours each week, about 30 to 40 hours each week, and it was just getting really draining. Being in a place I didn't like working at, wasn't using any of my skills. It was just frustrating. It's really frustrating. And I think definitely in that during that period, you definitely do need a group of people, especially your family, of course, to help support you during that period because that can be very tough. And these are also new problems that we in our generation that we are facing as far as looking for new jobs that would involve our skills, because looking for those kind of like specific jobs. Now, of course, different markets is going to be a different story, but looking for those jobs is going to be a while. That's what to find something like that. But having a good support group would definitely help throughout that process. It would definitely help, at least to keep your spirits up, because it does get very. Yeah. Okay. Oh no, that was it. That was it. That was just the last bit I was saying.
But would you say that you had a good support group?
Yeah, I would say. I would say. Like my family, they were supportive throughout the process, but also they are more on the old fashioned side. So they they weren't understanding how terrible the job market was, because they were kind of thinking there's definitely something different that you can do. Have you tried doing these different things, or even like going to physical locations? And it's from my experience, it seems like nowadays some companies don't even want you to actually go to their building. Like it's an actual irritation if you physically go to their building and say, and you're trying to introduce yourself. Like it doesn't even seem like companies even want that anymore. Everything's online as far as that. So things are very different now. Very, very different.
Yeah. So when you were still, in college, for those 4 years, had you ever expected at all that this is how the process would be after college?
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I was when I was the last couple of weeks before graduating, I was thinking I'm going to get a new job soon, get a job with a decent salary, and I would actually be able to get the things that I would like, be able to get my family things like that, and only for me to end up three months later to finally get a job with using some of the skills that I've gained, and on top of that, it's still around the same pay as you would probably get working at McDonald's or something. So it's something, but it's in the works.
Yeah, that makes sense. And to circle back, to this in a moment, I did want to go back to, your time in college, though, just so that way the viewers can get sort of a full picture of like, how did we end up here? So So since I know that, of course, you want to speak about your college experience, so where would you actually like to start in this?
I can we can pretty much start from the beginning. I applied to Old Dominion University, and not too long after my application, I was accepted, and also this was the university that my brother went to. So it was kind of, it just made sense. It just made sense. It was it was relatively close to home. So if anything were to happen or anything like that, not too far from home. And freshman year was a big eye opening experience as far as how different college is than high school. So off topic tangent, I definitely do think high school needs to do a better job of preparing people for college. But um, as far as the first year, it wasn't it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad first year, but I was already feeling the burnout from schooling in general. For people that are considering going to college, but they're kind of feeling that burnout on their senior year, I definitely would recommend taking a year break before you actually go into college, just so you can mentally recharge. And on top of that, if you're paying for college out of your own pocket, not necessarily relying on your family to do so, that would be a good chance to get more money before you actually start. But as far as the first year, wasn't too bad. Second year, pretty much the same as the first year. More just taking more classes as prerequisites, and nothing really notable in my second year. And then moving on to my third year. My third year was where I was really starting to feel the burnout, but also there were some classes that I actually did enjoy, so it kind of lessened the burnout because those classes actually were actually enjoyable for me. I learned about this. I actually was able to learn about the stuff that I was actually, wanting to actually go into. Um, and then in my final year, the burnout was bad. The burnout was bad. I throughout my entire college experience, I didn't necessarily uh, I didn't have a whole lot of people to really hang out with on campus or anything of that sort. I had people freshman year, but no, it didn't really last. It only lasted after the first semester. Kind of just half of the group kind of just broke off, made their own friends, or had their own different groups. One of them ended up moving away to go to the army, um, and I kept in touch with one of them throughout the rest of the first year, and then we kind of just drifted off after that. But I haven't really had anybody to hang out or anything like that. So, and then on top of having burnout, I pretty much just kept myself into my room. I definitely could have. I definitely could have. I did try to be out more. I did play basketball and actually worked out from time to time in the rec center on campus, but didn't really have anybody. So that's one thing. If there was anything to change about my college experience, is definitely going out more and actually going to events and things like that, and actually going to the games. That was one thing I did want to I did want to do. On some days, I did end up having schoolwork to do, but there are some days where I was mentally just drained from the work, but also the burnt out was just keeping me. But other than that, that was pretty much my experience with college.
Yeah, to follow up with that too, since you mentioned that you were so drained, even entering into college, that you were already drained. I think two important things to mention for context as well for any new viewers who haven't seen our previous conversations is that prior to us, beginning our time at our university, we also did early college the semester prior. So not only were we starting college for the first time, we were also in a weird position of we're starting for the first time, but we've also done college a little bit. But we also had a thing called the pandemic in there too, so
Yeah,
lots of weird circumstances.
yeah. COVID definitely threw a lot of things off it. as far as the first few years. Only the senior year was where things were kind of going back to normal. Junior year was kind of, it was heading that direction, but you could still feel the pandemic ongoing. Then senior year was really where it was kind of started to actually go away. The first couple years, it was um for sophomore year for me. Most of my classes were online. Junior year was kind of like the same deal. I only had maybe one or two in my senior year, but COVID definitely impacted a lot of things. A lot of things I could have potentially done more of, but also just my class experience as well.
And yeah, and speaking of that too, so yeah, so during that time, when we first entered 2020, so what were your thoughts going into, your first, your first year at ODU, like that first semester? Because yeah, as we mentioned before, you did have some experiences of college, so it wasn't like, so you were a little bit more prepared than per se some of our peers, but in the same regard too, some major differences were, one, we're of course now in the pandemic, but then also too that you wouldn't be able to socialize as much as you probably could have had there not been a pandemic. Not to mention you were on campus and not like commuting like we were for early college. And so, was there anything that you sought out to do differently now that you were having sort of a fresh start for something that you've kind of already have experience in?
Uh, I would say definitely socializing. That's definitely one thing. Socializing and taking a break off. I would say that's the main things.
That makes sense. And yeah, I think what's so interesting about us, of course, starting off in 2020 is that not only is that of course the year that we start full time college, but it's also the first time we had a discussion as well. And so I think would be interesting studies for us even going back for some of our previous discussions and see how our perspectives on certain things have shifted and and evolved over time since we first started. Where we start off in the midst of the pandemic, and then here we are today, at the end of 2024, where we're just counting down the days until 2025. And so was there anything that you think has shifted about your perspective of college since you've graduated?
Um, for the depending on certain, I'm trying to think of the word, majors. Depending on certain majors, college, you literally don't even need college for some majors. It's becoming to that now where your skills and your experience matter more than the degree. It does depend on some things. For IT, for example, you could get a degree, but some companies will take people that'll have certifications rather than just a degree, because having just a degree, just a bachelor's degree, doesn't really mean anything anymore for some majors. And that's the thing that was very shocking to me. Graduating, going through the process of job searching, I was looking at videos on people's perspectives because I was wondering if people were dealing with the same thing, and hoping that it wasn't just me just having the issue, but a lot of people are having the same issue in regards to it, and some people even thought the same thing, like do degrees even matter anymore? Like, what do you have to do to even get a good job now? And sorry, lost my train of thought. I pretty much just blanked. Just blanked.
All good, all good. But yeah, but nevertheless, though, since you mentioned that you didn't realize that per se that you don't need college actually like for a career like you were going to, and that more so that a degree alone, doesn't necessarily qualify you for the job. It's like, yeah, and then what? Um, would you say that you are still glad that you got your degree?
I am happy about it. There are some things that college does teach you outside of just a degree, just life skills alone, managing time, and understanding to do things on your own. There's things in regards to that college teaches you, whereas not going to college and just going through um, pretty much just working just from the start, then there's more things that college teaches you. So I am grateful for that. As for the only thing I really would hope that was different for me was really, I guess I would say, is actually knowing about the certifications for my degree. That's the only major. That's the only thing that I really wish I could have at least started working on my certifications, because I could probably have two by now. Probably have two certifications, but I was never really told that. And I guess, and it could literally just be the fact that the job market for IT changed into that direction over the course of time when I was in school. But yeah, that's pretty much I have for that.
Well, that makes sense. And I like that you said that some of those other experiences that you were able to get, you were able to learn in college that you may not have gotten otherwise. But in terms of the discipline itself, like, I mean, in terms of like IT for you, that that may not have really, like, what you learned in college per se is not going to necessarily apply to a job, but rather those certifications that you're still working towards.
Uh, yeah. Um, as far as because as for IT, I have spoke to someone that was in going through the same situation that I was, and they were on the opposite end of the spectrum for me, whereas they had certifications and they didn't have a degree. But of course, I have the degree, but I don't have the certifications. So it does matter to an extent, but there are some cases where it is still kind of the same issue. I guess it would depend on which in particular in IT you want to go to. As for me, I want to be able to work on I want to be able to work on PCs and be able to repair them and different like electronic items. As far as that, I think for that I don't necessarily need the degree, but at least have certifications to go along with that. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
And so it's interesting that you mentioned, like I said, that you spoke with a friend that is in the opposite, I mean, yeah, side of that. And so for anyone, that may be tuning in that hasn't yet experienced college or are curious how sort of this whole process has evolved over time. So, what would you say that outside of academics, what would you say that you've gained from college? Like, have you been able to experience like personal growth, for instance?
I have experienced. I have self worth is one thing that I have learned. Self worth and understanding, pretty much understanding the importance of my health, understanding the importance of my health and health as far as mental and physical both um, are the main things. Especially going through the stress of college and thankfully I didn't have to deal with working while doing college. I did that after, in between each semesters. Um, but over the course of a year, you're going to end up becoming very stressed out, and there's going to be days where you genuinely just don't want to do anything. You don't have the energy to, and having those feelings is fine. But understanding how to de-stress and to not only that, but to actually pick yourself back up and actually keep going is definitely what I've learned. And also trying to eat healthy as well, eating healthier and trying to do better. Like, for example, starting to drink. zero sugar sodas and things like that. Because that does help, especially with sugars, not sugars, but sodas having sugars around like 70 grams and things like that. That helps a lot as far as that. Um, as far as working out and things like that, I haven't done that lately, but that's something we'd get back to. But yeah,
Well, I'm glad that that you were taking your personal health and well being into account. And so, when did the shift come that you started focusing on this? Was this during college or a little bit afterwards for you?
a little bit of both, I would say. Um, as far as health wise, it started more in the second half of college, I would say. In my sophomore year, I really felt I was starting to feel um, the loneliness aspect of it, and uh, in my junior year, I wanted to make a change in that. So working out at least was going to help my mental, and at least me being able to actually at least feel better. Yeah.
Would you say that it did help improve overall?
Overall, yeah, I would say.
Well, that's certainly, like I said, I'm glad that you were able to dedicate yourself to that change and make it happen in real time. And so I know the last time that we spoke, when we recorded in December 2023, you had mentioned that you were about to head into your final semester strong, that you were excited for a more relaxed final semester before you head into graduation. And so did that work out in the way that you thought, or how was that? That final semester, spring 2024, for you personally and academically?
Um, personally, I would say it worked. I think it worked out well. I would say in the last two semesters, I didn't have a lot of classes that were as far as needed for my major. I only had there was only one class that was major related, and I just had electives to take. So when it came to the final semester, and I was taking the one class I needed left, it was really the only class I had major focus on because, of course, I needed that class to graduate. And going through that class and around the halfway point of the semester, I knew that I was going to pass that, and actually knowing that I was going to pass it and I was going to graduate, it definitely made me a lot happier towards the end, and um, to finally be done with the schooling that I need so I can finally begin um, life after college.
I said, well, that makes sense, but I'm glad that you were able to help put yourself first, and that you were able to have a more relaxing course wise end of your academic journey up to this point. And so I guess for you, when you were heading to graduation day, like how was that process? Were you like ecstatic for graduation, like on a countdown, or were there like a lot of exams and stuff coming up that you were preparing for? Like, how was that process for you leading up to your May 4th graduation?
Um, I was excited heading up to it. I really only had one exam, and that was the class I needed to pass as far as in my major. So, um, and the exam for it wasn't in for that class. It was weird because the final exam I think was around 10% or 15, something like that. But it was a low percentage to the point where even if I did horrible on it, it wouldn't completely mess up my grade. But I did do good on the final, so that wasn't too big of a worry. And um, leading up to the graduation, it was exciting and also a little stress. It wasn't necessarily stressful, but little. Um, can't think of the word, but getting getting the family together and everything, and also figuring out where to go and everything for the ceremony. Uh, that was pretty much the only downside I would say. But other than that, it was a good experience. The ceremony was good. But yeah,
That makes sense. Was the word you're looking for overwhelming?
yeah, overwhelming was the word.
Yeah, and how did it feel for you? I mean, finally having a chance to have a proper graduation since, of course, our high school graduation kind of got pandemicked. We still had a ceremony, but much different than an average non 2020 ceremony. But how did it feel for you to finally have a proper, like a proper commencement of any kind? Did you get the sort of closure you weren't able to get in high school?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I remember when I was walking out on the football field, like also just understanding how big that field was pretty mind blowing. But it did feel good to actually have a proper ceremony compared to our drive through as high school ceremony when it was just cold and raining as well.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to enjoy the proper ceremony. And I know, yeah, from my experience at least, when I graduated, was that, yeah, they said go between two friends. Were you able to have like a peer group that were able to be there with you? Or like, how was that process trying to figure out everything sort of in the moment of graduation, if you can remember?
Um, there wasn't really a whole lot. It was really just going to be the family, and yeah, it was really just going to be the family, and my grandma on my dad's side was trying to be able to go, but she wasn't able to make it. But as far as that, there wasn't any made like difficulties or anything like major difficulties as far as that.
Well, that makes sense, yeah, in that regard. And did you have a lot of friends graduating?
Um, friends from different universities. A few were graduating. Some people have graduated before. I think a semester. Um, pretty much graduating around the time, like a semester before I did, or a year before I did. But not anybody from Old Dominion. Well,
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 how
of
did that
course you,
feel?
of course you were, but
Oh yeah, but even then, like I was the day beforehand on a different ceremony, and so it felt really weird. Yeah, knowing that we all went in together as the college graduating class of 2024, but to see like everyone so scattered, like of course at different universities, different days, different semesters, and so it's so interesting that it's just like wow, like we all started off together. Now we're all in different places in our lives.
yeah. And it's one thing outside after graduating is it's nice to see people like where they're going and what they're doing afterwards. That's one thing I definitely do like, and that is one experience that you're not going to get if you're not going to college. Well, I wouldn't say that, but some people that you have seen from college, and like maybe you've met with them before, and you get each other's socials. You don't necessarily like talk in it like after that, but seeing them and seeing where they go, what they're doing, it's nice to see that.
It really is, especially from my perspective too, as a podcaster, having spoken with so many guests and everything. It's so amazing to see like what people do after the time that we spoke, whether they go to get another degree or or have amazing progress, with their potential career, start a family. I mean, there's so many different avenues out there, and so it's so great to see what happens when we sort of all grow up, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, and before we head back to what we were originally speaking about in terms of life after college, is there anything else that you wanted to mention during this college chapter? Yeah, to sort of close that book.
Let me see if I have anything on my notes here. Um, as far as college, I don't necessarily have anything else on it. Other than pretty much what I mentioned earlier. Definitely look into what you want to go into beforehand. If you know what you want to do before you actually plan on going to college, definitely look and see if it is something that you would need a degree for. But for some things now, you don't need degrees for it. You definitely need the experience, and some do require certifications for that. So definitely consider those things. And of course, college is not for everyone. And then, of course, the financial investment in it. But yeah, consider those factors while you're making your decision.
Well, I think that's certainly just so good advice. Like I said before, I mean, to those tuning in, and I like what you're saying too about that there are so many paths out there, and especially considering that for college, while I think it's the I don't know, it's sort of become the traditional path, so to speak, now after high school, but in the same regard, just like you were saying, the financial aspect of it is just so, yeah, important and really can't be understated.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, out of curiosity, so for you, and hopefully this can help encourage those to look into this that may be listening, but for the financial aspect of it, like, are you able to speak about that a little bit from your personal experience?
A little bit. I've seen how much. Um, I did see how much one of the loans were because I think we did two, and one of them is around 25K. So it is definitely, and Old Dominion is considered to be one of the more low costing ones. So imagine going to a larger university, that number is probably going to be a lot higher. So, uh, but yeah, definitely pricey.
Well, hopefully you were able to make the most of the university resources at the very least, though, while you were a student.
Yeah, I tried to. Definitely. I could have. I mean, I could have used more resources, but as far as what what I had, I definitely I could have used more resources. I do wish I do wish I could have participated in more things, but yeah, I definitely could have used more resources.
Yeah, and so now that we've, like I said, spoken about graduation day, so how was it, like I said, transitioning, going back to what we're speaking about at the beginning of this conversation? How was it, for you transitioning from college student to alumni? It's like, as you mentioned before, you took 3 months to even get an interview, for something over 50 applications. Like, how was that for you personally? Because I know the narrative we oftentimes hear is that, oh, okay, well, after you finish high school, you take a break, you go to college, take a break, and then you can go ahead and just start your career whenever you're ready. But that's not really the case.
Yeah, it's not really, it's not. Um, it does. Me personally, I would say it definitely does depend on. In some cases, it does depend on the person. Um, I do think that people's journeys are going to be different, and if you are willing to be more patient with it, you can be. You definitely do need to understand you definitely do need to understand the different changes that can happen, uh, as far as when you're going through the process. But that's pretty much all I have. I'm just constantly blanking. I'm sorry.
No, you were all good. I mean, I so love being able to hear, like I said, your insight into this, yeah, firsthand, because I feel like, I'm especially having spoken, to so many individuals, on the podcast. The thing I oftentimes hear is about that waiting period after graduation. Trying to figure out the what's next while also at least trying to do something to at least hold you over. Where even like a starter career takes, like you're saying, like dozens of applications to even get that far. It's not as simple as it may seem.
Yeah, it's definitely not as simple.
And for anyone that might be, tuned in and is ready to graduate college, do you have any advice for them or anything from your college experience that you wish you could have done differently? Like whether you have done internships or worked a little bit more, or or anything that you believe may help those tuning in.
Internships is the big one. Experience is a very big thing. If you don't have experience, most companies are not even going to even consider looking at you at all. So internships is definitely the big thing. That's one thing I missed out on. Um, yeah, that's honestly pretty much it. Internships is really the big thing.
Well, that's definitely, like I said, good to know. And had you attempted, to do any internships during your time, or was that something that, hadn't occurred to you until after, graduating?
I was thinking of doing internships. Uh, it was towards the end of I think it was my junior semester, the second half of it, that I was considering it. But at the time, I genuinely had a large workload in my classes, and it was a lot of essays and reports that I had to do that I genuinely, if I went for an internship, I literally just would not have the time or energy to do it for the course of the entire semester.
Yeah, I completely understand that too. It it's hard because it's almost like, more or less, well, it kind of is, juggling, a job, employment, but then also trying to do a full course load, which can be quite a lot, from speaking from personal experience.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
But yeah, and out of curiosity, after graduation, were you able to, I mean, to relax at all or enjoy your time, or was it straight to work on applications, as soon as you graduated?
I pretty much took 2 weeks to relax and pretty much just take it easy, spend some time with the family, and after that, I cracked down on doing applications, going to different locations, and trying to introduce myself to different places. And most of these places, after I spoke to them, they kind of just give me the runaround on it, on the applications and different things on that. So um, that's pretty much it on that.
Well, that makes sense. And since you mentioned that it was 3 months before, you even got an interview, was that first interview, the position that you have now, or did it take even longer, to get, I mean, to be able to get a position?
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure that it was for this one. Um, yeah, the interview that I had was for the current position that I have, and it was a very, it was a very nerve wracking one. Um, there was a panel of three for that interview, and I was already anxious coming into it, but then walking into the room with three people, and they all have they all have their own questions. And when they asked me the first question, and the mo- as I started giving the first sentence, I see all three of them immediately drop down to start writing it. That completely just it it completely shut my brain off, and I was very nervous, and they were very understanding of it, and they understand that having three people interviewing you is going to be very intimidating. It's going to be scary. Um, but I was able to do the rest of the interview without a lot of hiccups or anything. So I was very thankful for that. And I think and I felt mixed emotions as far as like I think I did good, but I also think I definitely could have done better. I definitely didn't like the fact that I was very thrown off at the beginning, but of course it's something new. But yeah.
Well, that makes sense. And have you been enjoying the position? Was this your first offer that was given to you?
Um this was the only one that I had an interview with, so I pretty much just took it. It especially considering how long it's been. Um and so far the job has been it's it's stressful mainly because there's a lot of paperwork to handle. Um but it's it's not that bad. I work at an animal shelter here, um, and my position is called a administrative technician, and I'm pretty much just handling the paperwork as for the adoptions and processing them, filing them, and making sure that if there were anything to happen with any of the adoptions, we could find it easily. uh, putting information on the pets that we get coming in, and uh, that's pretty much it. And as well as making sure that all the kennels have accurate information and up to date information as well. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it as far as the new job.
Cool. And I mean, that's great though that you've been able to learn things and you know and be able to have this opportunity to get new experiences. And so out of curiosity for you, how long did it take for you to get acclimated to everything, or or were you able to just start on day one? How was that for you trying out a new experience?
I'm still adjusting to it now. um, I've been working there for 4 weeks now. 4 weeks now, almost. And like probably about a week now. It'll be a month. Um, but I am a fast learner and I can adapt quickly. So that is something that is helping me because there is a lot to learn about the job and a lot of different things that you do need to have to do for it. But that but I think I'm doing good as far as a new person for it. But how was your job been?
Oh yeah,
You got a new
yeah,
job?
yeah. My job has been going well, and I think we are speaking a little bit earlier. But are you actually familiar with what I do now?
I do not.
Yeah, so right now I'm actually an adjunct instructor at the university level.
Okay, that's good. Uh, I was gonna ask, what do you do for it?
Oh yeah, so I actually teach public speaking at the university in person, which is funny because, as you know, I was a online student, but yes, I teach one public speaking class.
Okay, that's really good. That's really good.
Thank you.
How long have you been working there so far?
Yeah, that's definitely a great question. So there's a two-layered answer to this. So back in January 2024, actually, let me go back to December 2022. So for then, right when I was finishing my bachelor's degree, I had gotten accepted to the master's program And with it, I was able to get a graduate assistantship that was able to help pay for my tuition or whatever. It's like a separate, but it helps out. Nevertheless, though, I did that, so I was able to be a graduate teaching assistant for 2 semesters, the spring and fall of 2023. And then in spring 2024, I was actually given my own class to teach, which was an online asynchronous public speaking class. And that was a really fun experience, being able to do that. But I remember leaving it in May, a few days after graduating, and that it's like, wow, that was it. It's like, yeah, I love doing this. I've always, grown up wanting to be a teacher. I mean, you've known me for several years, so I already know that you are, well aware of that. But yeah, I wanted to do a little bit more when I was teaching. Um, I was, of course, very occupied with finishing my master's program, writing my thesis. That I wanted to put more effort into the teaching aspect of it, and not just being a student. And so it was really the day right after my birthday that I got an email saying, like, congratulations of this year. It's just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I never really even formally applied. I just expressed interest and inquired. But what was funny, though, was that towards the end of August, right before the new student started, um, I was thinking, like, well, I guess even though I got the job per se, it's like, I guess I won't have a class this semester because, I mean, semester starts in like 4 days. And sure enough, I was approached and was like, hey, can you teach this class that begins on Monday? It's like, oh, this was Thursday that we were having that conversation. And so it's like, okay, well, let's see what I can do. And I was able to do it. And so I've been teaching since August 26th. So it's been something that I love. Very different in person than teaching asynchronously. But I love the challenge. It's the same content area. So it's like new, but the same.
Okay, that's good. Um, and how have you been adjusting to the position?
It's been an adjustment, but it's like been a fun adjustment. So the first class period, I had no access to Canvas. I had none of the course material other than what I had previously taught. And I had a syllabus full of assignments that I had no idea what they were. And so, but I knew the concept of the bulk ones because that part was the same. But some of the other additional things I didn't know about, like attendance policies. I hadn't been an in-person student at the university. I don't know how attendance works. I didn't know that you have to like swipe your key card. Like I didn't know that thing existed.
Yeah, it. I would assume it would take a bit of adjustment to, especially considering that you have been all your college classes you've been taking online. So adjusting to that, even as a teacher, would take a bit of an adjustment.
Yeah, I definitely did. But I loved it as a challenge. I was also able to be closer to my brother too, who's now in his first semester of college. So that's been sort of a fun adjustment. I actually found out one day after he moved in, and so that was kind of a fun experience. It felt almost like a TV sitcom plot. Like, oh yeah, by the way, you're still a main character, and even though that you're moving on, like you're still in the loop. So that's honestly what it's felt like. But I mean, it's been such a fun and rewarding experience. I don't know how long I'll have a chance to do this, but I mean, it's like sort of living the dream almost in the most unpredictable way possible.
Well, I'm glad that you are enjoying the experience. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and I'm glad that it also. I mean, just having teaching the one class at this point, I like that it still allows me flexibility to do all the other things I still love in my day, and like still having to, being able to do this podcast, for instance. Like I came straight from, teaching to being here, and so I'm so glad that I have that flexibility in my schedule still. I know that's not something that everyone has a chance to experience. And so, in some sense, I feel like this was made to happen almost for me in 2024. Like I said, under the oddest of circumstances, but um, yeah, I would have never thought I would have been given a class with less than 4 days notice, um, and in person at that. But I'm excited to see what the next challenge is, and I hope that I can continue this one for just a little bit longer.
I hope you are able to continue going through that.
Yeah, I have no idea what future semesters have to hold, but like I said, for as long as they want me, I'm willing to do it, and it would be an absolute honor.
And I do wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much, and same with your journey. I mean, I'm glad that you're able to at least have a position that is able to bring stability, and allow for you to continue working towards your certifications. And have you been able to finish one yet?
Not yet. Um, haven't really been in. I haven't really been in the best of place, I would say, mentally as of recently, but um, transitioning into trying um, to do better and adjust. Um, and once I do, I will be getting back into studying for the certification.
Well, that makes sense, and certainly do wish you the best in being able to get back to a better place mentally. And I hope that everything goes well for you as we continue to end out 2024.
Same to you.
But yeah, and Joshua, is there anything else that you wanted to discuss while we're here? Anything fun that you wanted to speak about, or anything else going on with you lately?
Um, I am considering teaching myself um, how to make videos as far as making like clips and things of that sort. Um, but and that's really it. And I guess trying to learn how to type faster, especially with my new job now. I have to be a lot more familiar with I have to be a lot more familiar with using keyboards. So I am trying to be more familiar with that and trying to actually be better with using um, better with typing and things of that sort. So that wasn't necessarily something that I necessarily had to do a whole lot through college, but since I'm doing it pretty much almost every day now, I have to be a lot better for it. But that's pretty much it as far as that.
Well, that makes sense, and I know you're still going strong on your Twitch stream
Uh, not necessarily.
at times.
Not necessarily. At times, but yeah.
Are you hoping to have more time, for your Twitch streams going forward?
I do hope so. I do want to actually commit to actually having a schedule and actually, streaming regularly, but haven't really haven't really been doing that, and also haven't really been up to it at all lately.
That makes sense. Well, hopefully that like I said, you're able to get more time as we enter into more of the winter time and the new year ahead. And can you believe that we're almost in 2025?
The entire year has been very fast. I'm ever since I started. I won't say ever since I started. Ever since uh, ever since I graduated, I've honestly been losing track of time. It'll be like it'll be like August 10th, and then all of a sudden it's the end of the month. And the new month begins, and I'm like, okay, we're in a new month now. The month is gone. So
I will fully admit that as of speaking right now, that my calendar in my room is still set to August.
I just recently changed mine to this month.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things too where even mentally, maybe one of the activities like I should start doing, maybe we should start doing, is actually writing down like the date. As odd as that sounds, it's like my mind, like when I even speak about stuff, I'll see like the day, like it might be like October 30th, and I'll see it say October 30th, and as I audibly say, "All right, it's August 30th," it's like, no, 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 we're not in August anymore. That's passed. That's passed already.
It, yeah,
But yeah, and so yeah, as we're beginning to, I mean, to close our discussion, like I said, episode 98 of the show. I mean, just thinking back though about how our journeys have progressed. I mean, when we had first started speaking, I mean, as we mentioned earlier, it was truly right after Thanksgiving 2020, and so much has changed. Since then, from both our content to our personal lives. I mean, at the time we were just starting off college, and now look at us. We're both graduates, both with jobs and trying new things. And I mean, it's crazy to think how much has changed since then.
yeah, and also on top of that, with it, and 4 years is a decent bit of time, but it's not. It's a decent bit of time, but it's not necessarily a lot, considering, especially considering how long we live and everything. But a lot has changed, especially as far as um, like where we are from then and now, and the things that we're doing. And we probably wouldn't even we wouldn't even expect the different paths that we are on now. But yeah,
That is so true, and yeah, and it makes me wonder. Like this time next year, even like where are we going to be in our lives? Are we still going to be on the same trajectories that we're on now, or is it going to completely, change and shift a little bit?
yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see.
But yeah, and so as we are beginning to close out this episode, what does it mean for you to be able to, and like I said, to tell your story here in the podcast?
Um, I do think that some of the things that I do say definitely can be potentially insightful for someone that can be going through similar things. Obviously, I'm not going to be the best at discussing it, but it coming from that someone that is on the same path or similar path, hopefully that hopefully they can at least help with anything that they are going through.
But but to ask a follow up question to that too. Whereas I've had such the honor of speaking with so many amazing, guests on my podcast, yourself included, over 156 to be exact, or 157 rather. But yeah, you were my fourth ever guest, that I've spoken with, and the first consistent podcast episode I did was at R1 in 2020. So how does it feel, that we're able to document where we are at the end of the year every year for now our fifth, consecutive year? Like, how does that feel that we have that little time capsule?
I think it's interesting, especially with the different things that we have went through and like the different stories that we have at the time as well, and our different thoughts, feelings, and things. Um, it is definitely interesting to see over the course of the years.
It really is. And I feel like one of these days we should honestly just like dedicate a day to just sort of go back through those previous conversations and evaluate to see where we were then, and especially in relation to where we are now.
Yeah, that would be a good time.
But yeah, and I want to allow for a moment for you to go ahead and let the audience know, where can they potentially find you online, or perhaps check out your Twitch streams when you have the time.
Well, my Twitch handle is barbecue hamster 6,900. I don't know if I ever told the story on the name, but I'm pretty sure I did, maybe like on the first one. But The name came from a Overwatch content creator by the name of Level Uplifting, and they made a video regarding a character from the game, which is Hammond, which is literally this hamster that pilots a mech, which is a wrecking ball. And in the video, there was a edit with Shaquille O'Neal, and his like catchphrase is where he says barbecue chicken. In the edit, it was him saying barbecue hamster, and I thought that was funny, and that'd be a good possible name that I could have um, as far as my Xbox and online alias. And I think like after like a couple years, after a year or something like that, after the video, I was like, you know what, that'd be a perfect name. So made the name change to that, and then Xbox added on the 6,900, and at the time, 6 9 was funny, etc. So that's why, and it just seemed perfect at the time. So, and there's that.
Well, certainly, such an interesting origin story, and I believe you did speak about that. I believe 2 episodes ago. I think they all start to sort of blend in at some point.
Oh yeah.
But nevertheless, it's so great. Hear a reminder about that and where you are now. How many years into content are you right now with Twitch?
Think probably around 3 4 years. Obviously not consistently. I have not been anywhere near that, but as far as the account, I think it's around 4 years probably. 3 4 years probably.
So maybe 2025, you'll have semi-consistent?
Uh, Maybe. I need to set a goal for that and actually stick to it, but um I'll try to. I definitely will try to.
Well, maybe we should set, like I said, a goal together and help uplift each other and continue to, make this time post grad the best yet.
Yeah.
And but last but certainly not least, Joshua, if you're able to go ahead and help close our episode out with whatever be inspirational thought, life lesson, or whatever the case may be, the floor is all yours.
Thank you everyone for watching, and I do hope that anything that we have said has been either insightful or just been entertaining to listen to. But yeah, that's all. I mean, that's all I have.
All right, that sounds good. And thank you so much for those tuning in to this episode. I greatly appreciate it. I always love speaking with Joshua every year. Our previous conversation was episode 48. If you hadn't had a chance to to tune in, and now we're at 98. But I'm so excited to see what's to come as we approach episode 100. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you on the next one as we continue on our mission to bring people together. I'll see you then. Take care.
Take care, everyone.